everybody, I'm Melissa Muir. Welcome back for another Tool Time Tuesday. In this video, I want to address some questions that have come up or have been proposed to me based on some of the videos that I've recently done regarding casting. I want to show you guys a couple of different ingot mold options that you have, as well as how to prepare your crucible. In addition to that, I've had a lot of different questions on torches. So we may actually see multiple videos come out of this particular video, but at least we'll get everything covered. So let's take a look now. One of the questions I've been getting a lot lately is about butane torches and which torches will work for what. Now, to give you an example, these are all three butane torches, but they all do very different things because of the size of their flames. This is the very first torch I ever began with. It's a blazer torch. It's a fantastic little torch, and I'm amazed that I was able to do what I was able to do while I was using it. The flame on this is a little bit smaller, a little tighter, and it also means that you are only going to be able to do smaller pieces, maybe up to 1.25 inches, but I would say things under 1 inch. I use this all the time if all I'm doing is maybe some simple jump rings or closing a bezel and maybe small bezel or pendant work, but that's about it. Maybe a couple of rings, nothing major. The next torch is one that I've had in my studio now for about 7-8 years, and I have absolutely loved it. There's a couple of different things that about it. It's a little trickier to turn on. So there's a safety here. You have to push that safety down, and then you have to push this trigger. Now, if you don't push the trigger in all the way, it releases that safety, and then you can no longer push it. So it's kind of nice in that way, but it also is kind of annoying if you're not ready for it. So I've got the safety down. I'm going to push kind of quick, but not too fast and hard all the way through to ignite this. And then there's a little button here or a little slide. You would kick that back, and then you can let go of the button. If you don't kick that back, when you let go, it turns the torch off. So to give you an idea, let me show you the different flames that we have here. You can see how much smaller and tighter this flame is, and this one's much bushier. This is going to allow you to do little larger pieces. Again, maybe up to between 1.5 inches to maybe 2.5 inches. And again, that's kind of pushing it. To turn this off, I just slide that little piece forward, and there we go. The last torch that I've been using, you actually attach right to the fuel can. So these I pick up just in the regular big box stores in the camping section. It's a great little tool. All you have to do is just pop it on to the can itself, and you give it a twist, and now it's ready to go. To get this one going, you just turn on the flame here, push your ignition button, and there it is. And again, this one you can see we have a much larger flame than the other two. So this one's going to allow you to be able to do pieces upwards of about 3 inches or so. It gives you a lot more surface area for your flame. You can also kind of kick it up or down a little bit. So that's an introduction to the different butane torches. One question that often comes up is, how do you fill these? You saw this particular butane torch, you just hook the torch onto the can itself. But these, you want to use a really good butane. Now, there's a lot of butane that you can find out there that say that they're triple refined, quadruple refined, quintuple refined, and that may be fine and dandy, but I've seen a lot of things happen when you use a butane that's kind of off-label or questionable. It will clog the different hoses in the actual torch, and so it won't hold its flame. So to fill these, both of them, there is this little brass knob down here, or brass, kind of an indent, like a little nozzle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the can of butane, holding my torch upside down, put this on, and I'm going to hold this, and you're going to hear it kind of spit once it gets full enough. And once you hear that spitting, there you go. You're done. You want to tilt your torch back upright. You want to leave it for about 30 seconds before you use that torch. So another one of the torches that I have here in my studio is this little small one. This is a Gentech, but it's very similar to the Smith little torch. And what you have is you've got both propane and oxygen. Now, you don't want to confuse some of this, because if you look here, like I've got my oxygen that's red, my propane that's blue, but on my torch, I have a blue and a red knob. and they're not propane and oxygen in that order. Matter of fact, the red for me is the fuel line. So this is my propane, the blue is my oxygen. So you want to be very cautious of how you hook this all up. So what I'm going to do is, you do need a striker to get this going. I'm going to just barely turn on my gas. It doesn't take a whole lot here. Let's see, get this going. And I want to back it down until that flame comes back down to my tip, and very, very gently I'm going to introduce the oxygen to that until I get my nice tight flame to how I want it. In this case, I can hear it a little bit, and that's kind of what I want. I want that nice blue cone inside of this. Now, it's important that when you turn this off, that you turn it back off in the order that you turned it on. So in this case, oxygen is going to go off first, and then I'm going to turn off my propane. And that's how you do that. So a little acronym for you to remember is POOP. Propane, oxygen, oxygen, propane. That's how you use that. Now, I do have a number of tips for this. This one happens to be a number 6. So I've got a 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and then I think down to a 2. There are different torch tips that you can buy for this. This is not a great tip or a torch for casting unless you buy an additional tip called a rosebud tip. So that's something I don't have, can't show that to you, but it is an option. So the next torch that I use in here is my map gas. Now this torch has a huge flame on this. Okay, big powerful flame, and what I use this for is when I'm doing any type of casting or if I need to anneal large pieces. And this one is kind of nice because it only has just the one canister, the map gas itself. I do have this on a hose. The hoses apparently are kind of difficult to find. So I've done you the service. I have put a link to the hoses using my affiliate link on Amazon. So I make like a whole 10 cents off of that if you buy it. So I appreciate your 10 cents if you do purchase it through that link. But anyway, I use the TS8000 and the 4000 does not quite get hot enough, or any of the other torches that I have used through Burns-O-Matic. So it is important that you get the TS8000. Again, I've included the link. I use the hose. The hose is extremely important in this case, and that is because if you have your canister on the torch itself and you're tilting it upside down to get the flame where you need it to be, you are going to change the pressure inside of the canister, and it's going to cool your flame down. I have found this out the hard way in my classes. I was able to cast beautifully for the demo, and then nobody else was able to because the canister's pressure changed and everything changed there. So be aware of that. Now the last torch that I use in my studio is an Acetylene Air Torch. Now this is a Goss, and this would be kind of similar to like a Smith torch, or I believe they also have a Gentech that's like this. I have really, really liked my Goss torch. I've now had it for almost a full decade, and it has been wonderful. It's acetylene air, which means you only have just the acetylene B tank. Notice that it's secured here nice and tight to my bench. You don't need the oxygen, because what happens is it actually pulls the oxygen in through the air. So this is also like an ambient air torch is what you can find that as sometimes. So it pulls it in and it mixes it here inside of the torch head itself. Again, you will need a striker for this particular torch. Now, depending on the different tip you have, so I've got a number of these tips, is going to determine what you're able to do with this. Number 4 is my go-to tip, but you can get like down to a 2 or a 1 and get a nice tight flame. Still not quite as tight as what I can get with this little torch. I can do some casting as long as I have like a size 6 torch tip for this. However, I have found that it takes a little longer with my acetylene torch rather than my map gas. So I use the map gas for melting down my large quantities of silver for casting. So this was just a really, really brief introduction to all of the torches that I use here in my studio. Believe it or not, I use them quite regularly, and I jump from one torch to the next depending on what it is that I'm doing. So if you have any questions, just drop me a line, let me know, leave it either in the comments or shoot me an email. Catch me on any of the social media that I'm on, and I would be happy to help you find what you're looking for.